Welcome back to the 7th grade Mustache. For those that didn't know, you need to know that trapdoors don't work on brothers that can levitate. Neither does shadow banning or any kind of bullshit like that, or any attempt to keep this show from reaching you listeners who need the real.
They don't want us to reach a broader audience because, when you awaken somebody, it's hard for them to go back to sleep. That's all it is.
On today's episode, we speaking about the nanny state, the slow creep toward complete control of every aspect of your life in the most overt, OCD, micromanaged way possible. The welfare cockblocker that interceded into poor black households in the form of a social worker for people on welfare. An example of that in the 1970s was a movie called Pauline.
Mm-hmm.
And in this movie, Diane Carroll was a black mother in the projects, and she had to hide the father of her children from the caseworker. And this was the reality for many black families on welfare in the projects back in the day. And now, in the form of defects for working class black folks, the nanny state continues to threaten forced orphanry of your children.
It gets worse where you'll have people actually step in. Caseworkers step in. Kids say they're being beat. It's not true. Kids lie. And then all it is they don't want to be disciplined. So then all of a sudden people tell you can't spank your children. You're afraid to discipline your kids because you get in trouble. But then if your kid doesn't go to school, they got, remember this, they had judges down south that were handcuffing kids to their mom and stuff just so they would go to class. So you can't have it both ways. I'm not allowed to raise my child, but at the same time, my child is allowed to, well, you know what? You have an equal say in the matter. How about this? Personal matter. My child went to a clinic. They're a minor. So I go there to find out the diagnosis. Oh, we can't share the diagnosis with you. I'm like, well, why not? Well, I'll go get my wife. No, it's private. They're a minor. How is it private? I need to know the health. No, she doesn't want you to know. Oh, my God. So they do this. They undermine your authority. They usurp your authority in your own house to where you're not the head of your own household. Everybody in your house has an opinion. Everybody in your house, even though these children don't work, even though you may have an adult child that doesn't work or contribute, but they're equal participant. And so then the nanny state comes in, as my brother's telling you, and says, well, you know what, you guys can stay here as long as you like. You ain't got to pay rent. You can't even put your kid out as a minor. You always hear these stories of people, I got put out at 14 and 15. Sometimes, that could be a form of abuse. Other times is the fact that child was doing something they had no business doing. The parent couldn't discipline them. You can't put your hands on them. So what do? You can't live under my roof with that behavior. With that being the case, they stop you from having your own house. And then they give you everything free. I agree. Free healthcare should be a thing. Nobody should have to struggle to take care of themselves health-wise. But who's the one that gave you the disease? It's a hustle.
So the nanny state exists on each level of society: social, economical, psychological, and many, many more, including technological. So the nanny state is something that breeds a type of person that is codependent upon some level of authority to mediate their existence. They become disposed or predisposed to looking to an authority to tell them where they should live, how much they should make, what their prospects are in life, what their outlook should be, the ceiling of their expectations for reality, their ceiling on the expectations of spirituality. More and more people become institutionalized and expect someone to tell them, you know, that
when and how.
that it's okay to stay in this neighborhood and not leave their neighborhood. In the ghettos of the mind, to quote Pete Rock and CL Smooth, exists because people have stayed and bred on this psychological plantation for centuries.
What makes it hard to talk about, because you hear people say that people have been on welfare 3 or 4 generations on welfare. I don't want to diss anybody on welfare, because sometimes that's a necessity. But sometimes when you're on welfare and somebody's taking care of you, you don't aspire for nothing else. You just wait for the next handout. You wait for the next check. Now, there are people in situations where there's not enough jobs. You have Detroit, you have Chicago, and you've heard us talk about it in the past. When you move the manufacturing base out of the city, then there's a void there. That void is filled with drugs, gambling, and illegal activity. So sometimes if the jobs leave, you have to be on welfare to support your children. You got kids, you got a household, whatever. But the bottom line is that how come you don't do this in other communities? You know, where did the jobs go? They go to the white communities. So was it by accident? This void was created? And then being dependent on the state, there was a quote that's attributed to Ford. I don't know if he said it or not, but he says, if you want somebody to take care of you, look at the Native Americans. You know, when somebody takes care of you, you end up, you become run down. You become malleable.
Your spirit is broken.
It's a very complicated thing. The thing is, yes, the government should have fail-safes. We all agree with that. Like, hey, when shit gets tough, you should be able to take care of your people until the times get better. But to put somebody on welfare for years, and then how about this conversation? Have you heard this one? Whenever black people ask for reparations, they say, well, welfare is reparations. Now, how come when white folks get welfare, y'all don't call it reparations? But when black folks get welfare, it's called reparations. That's kind of backwards. Look, give me my due. Give me what I'm owed so I can flourish and be equal to you guys. If I wasn't a threat, you wouldn't fix the game. The game is rigged on purpose. The welfare state creeps into your life. And what my brother's telling you is that they act like they're benign and they're doing things to be benevolent and take care of you, but they also take your rights. Each time they give you something, they take something in return. Now, is what they're taking in return bigger or not? You see how it affects the black community when you have welfare and no jobs. Or, okay, you change the rules. You got to work so many hours to get food stamps. You know, it's complicated because I had a homegirl that chick I was dating. She worked too much. They took her age. Like, hey, I need daycare. Now, they've changed the rules since then, yes. But it makes it so, like, you mediocrity is the best you can do. My brother just told you, it limits your expectations. Like, okay, you only can work this many hours. So how come you don't give me what I need to start my own company then? So then I don't need to depend on you. No, because capitalism doesn't work with poor people. Without poor people, capitalism doesn't work. So you manufactured us to be poor on purpose, just to make this machine work.
Yes, but capitalism is fine so long as there are not any institutional racism roadblocks. You see,
there's plenty of them. That's what kept us down in the first place.
Right. But see, without these roadblocks, then it's a fair game. Everybody can play the game of capitalism equally. But because you have a 400-year head start on another race of people, and then you live off the wealth of those descendants of those people for the longest time, and you suppress those people, well, then you still have a head start, and your forebears will have a head start for centuries to come. And then you put in all of these safeguards to keep yourself at the top of the pyramid. So, yeah, I mean, capitalism does work so long as it's so long as the playing field is not level. But the thing is that, okay, this nanny state exists, as I said, on multiple levels. Now, when it comes to technology, let's go back to 1993, when the Clipper chip concept was introduced by the NSA. and it was intended to collect voice and data over telephone lines, cell phone networks, fax networks, and the internet. But it was supposedly shelved in 1996 for reasons being that it was considered too invasive into the privacy of American citizens. But that was just a pacification phrase or pacification program that was used to assuage the minds of Americans to take their attention away from that while that technology was improved and expanded into the internet, because the explosion of the internet gave them a greater reach for this vacuuming up of technology and information. And so with all this information being, read and gathered from emails and telephone conversations, it continued. It continued into the War on Terror. And when the War on Terror reared its ugly head, well, you had the Patriot Act. And the Patriot Act was pretty much Freaknik for the nanny state. And
don't forget that they got you hooked on a couple things. They got you hooked on the internet. And one of the things they talk about what's going on right now is AI. So in China, AI is everywhere. And just for you to log into the internet, you got to use facial recognition and stuff like that. Well, in America, AI isn't used like that. But AI is still, what's the word I'm looking? It's still being fostered by these companies. So AI is is used in this country just to make a profit. It doesn't care about the people. In China, don't care about the people either. But what I'm saying is that this nanny state is designed to get you hooked on more different things and more reliant on hey, you know what? I can't live without internet, so I'll sign my rights away. How many times do you see the stuff on your phone where you got to check the box just to play the game, or you got to do this you got to be part of Facebook to keep your place in the game? And we've talked about this in the past, but what it is that this nanny state, they understand what they're doing, and they give you things that aren't really necessities, but they're luxuries that people get used to, and they feel like they can't live without. And they reward you, and they control you socially. And like I said, my brother's telling you, it began way back then, but it's been perfected over time. And giving you free shit is just one way of getting you to where, okay, I got to play this game. I got to get hooked on this. I got to do that. We talked about it with the Pokemon games. We talked about it where it influences your spending, but it doesn't benefit you in the long run as a person, not at all.
20 years ago, with the attacks of September 11th and the rise of the surveillance state, people were quick to give away their privacy for protection. But for all these patriotic folk out there who love George Washington, John Adams, and Benjamin Franklin, it was Benjamin Franklin who said, those who give away their freedom for comfort don't deserve either. Park it right there around 2001, because around that time, people were so patriotic to the point of not even questioning anything the government was saying. I mean, to the point that gangster rap just died off completely. And the hardest motherfuckers was talking about, USA, USA. And they weren't questioning the fact that they were warrantless wiretaps. And hold on. And the fact that the government could just do whatever they want. And people were being just rounded up and held indefinitely. So the people were being disappeared into Abu Ghraib and black sites.
Yep. All I was going to say is that they've tried this stuff in the past, but like you said, the general American population was too smart to fall for it, and somebody would say, like, no, this ain't going to work. They would have organizations that would stand up. people give the UN so much credit right now. They tried that before with the League of Nations, and Americans and people across the world like, nah, we don't want no one world government. The UN really doesn't have any authority, but for some reason, these liberals thinks it does. But my point I'm trying to say is that every time in the past they try to take your rights, somebody spoke up. Now we gladly give our rights away just so you can look at some Pornhub shit and get some free internet, and so that doesn't make sense. So right now, just so you can have a cell phone, you're giving your rights away, and people are listening to your conversation. But
listen, consider a complete 180 from the patriotism of the attacks on September 11th to the petrified paranoia of the new Cold War super weapon named COVID-19 and the coronavirus. So you had a complete 180 from everybody saying, hey, we're all together, to everybody saying, hey, no, I'm by myself. And you have this crystallized paranoia. So, it's amazing how one psyop is the flip side of another.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's the deal. If you don't believe it, I'm in a union at my job. Back in the day, unions had power. If the union leader said walk off, you would walk off. Now it's like nobody comes to the meetings, but everybody wants a pay raise, and they want to work less. They want the benefits, but they don't want to do the work. The church was a polarizing figure during the civil rights movement. It backed the black people. Now the church is getting government money, and
it's part of the pacification problem of the public.
Yes. Yep.
They're there to pacify the public. Right. And so there are no more revolutionaries coming out of the church. There are no more revolutionaries coming out of the universities. There are no more revolutionaries in any quarter or section of society. So where are they?
They give you a book deal and shut you the fuck up. That's what they do.
That's right. Or they get a TikTok account and they get monetized. And they get pacified and they get soft and they go buy a bunch of houses off of money that's being donated while everybody else is out in the street getting arrested.
Here's the deal. We talk about Black Lives Matter in the past, but the movement we agree with, but not the organization. But anybody who thinks that these women were alone in what they did, look at Jesse Jackson. Look at Al Sharpton. My brother Roscoe always pointed out that these guys made money off of our struggle and didn't do anything for us. Operation Push, what did it accomplish? Here's the deal. Remember how bitter Jesse Jackson was when Barack got elected? He came out of Chicago, same place Jesse came from. And Jesse was like a hot mic when he was talking shit about the guy. And I'm like, look, how bitter are you? he Barack wasn't scamming. Well, he was doing a different kind of scam, but he wasn't scamming the way you was. He ain't using the rules you use. He didn't kill Martin Luther King. So why is Jesse so pissed? Because this guy didn't have to kill to get in the office. So, but the point is that these people are making money, and that's it. Once they sell out, they get their money, and then they don't care about the people anymore. They still have a rubber stamp of approval. They might show up to a couple of events here and there, but they really ain't doing shit. And the thing is, instead of them teaching, like the next revolutionary, all they do is teach you how to play the game. Like, hey man, I want you to replace me, and all that means is your ability to make money. What got King killed is that King was turning into Malcolm X. Read his older books. So when you realize, okay, this guy ain't passive anymore, he ain't nonviolent, we'll kill him and replace him with another nigga who can't wait to just be popular. Jesse just wants to be popular. Al, they just want to be popular. They don't want to actually accomplish shit.
It began as a domestic fishbowl, tabletop simulation, and it spread to the whole planet. And now technology has matured from the beacon of a hopeful tech utopia to a harbinger of prison planet drudgery. So everywhere you look, there are cameras and microphones hidden in place. And it started as fixtures and security cameras On the
a novelty.
corner and at the store and at a traffic light and on the interstate. And now everybody has a camera and microphone on their phone and they're willing to snitch on everybody and upload it.
Even themselves.
Even themselves. Even these dumbass SoundCloud rappers who rap about somebody that they fucking killed to the rest of the world that they gotta fucking snitch to. And then they get arrested and wonder how they got busted. Well, motherfucker, you telling everybody
But
what you're doing.
but here's the deal: before Facebook was MySpace, so when people were getting hooked up on MySpace and getting in trouble, me and you backed away. Like, hey, this is a novelty, but I ain't gonna put nothing important on there. So you would
Still
have
don't.
thought.
Still don't.
Say what?
Still don't put on nothing. Nothing important is on there.
No. 100.
Straw man all day. Straw man.
So you think that people would have learned that lesson, but then Facebook is just a bigger version. And the thing is, Facebook's not even as good as MySpace. Well, why do we go to Facebook in the first place? Another conversation. But here's the point: is that people are not learning their lessons, and they're being manipulated, and they flock to it. So when you had these people that were getting busted, you would think like, okay, don't post any guns on there, and if you do post a gun on there, don't let that be the one that you shoot the guy with. You know what I'm saying? That kind of behavior is what got you caught up. But you're telling on yourself. And that's the other part that I don't get, is that whenever something happens, everybody whips out their cell phone. But so you're reporting for the government? Who are you doing this for? For a little bit of fame? For some likes? So I think where I'm going with this is the fact that I remember when we were kids, they had talked, when we first started reading Behold the Pale Horse, he talks about how they're going to start, with scouting and usurp scouting, and then getting the kids' heads where the kids are turning in their own parents. Well, that's happening right now. Kids are turning their own parents, and then they get with a little trinket or something. But where's the loyalty? You're not even loyal to yourself. So it's you think the government's going to take care of you. You think master is going to save you. You think that if you turn in the other slaves, master will look out for you.
Look, man,
and
we live in smart cities that are filled with stupid people. And in many episodes before, we talked about the smart cities and the danger of these smart cities. Well, there's street lights with microphones and cameras and snitches of every type, carbon-based, digital, and hybrid life forms all around you. You have all of this extra technology just in case the cell phones don't pick it up to gather all this data on you. So you're snitching on yourself when you don't even realize it. When you don't,
or you don't care.
And you don't clean out your browser history. And you walking around with all of your information literally on your sleeve, wearing it on your sleeve. And so all that data can be mined because you're leaving these breadcrumbs to follow you and to tell people exactly what you eat, where you buy your gas, when you buy your gas, what kind of gas you smoke, all kind of shit, dude.
But how, okay, look, bro, how they get you? Remember shows like America's Funniest Home Videos? They got you with shit like that. They got you filming yourself. Or these crime buster shows where we need your help identifying this person. No, you don't. That's your job. You don't help me at my job. When's the last time a cop came to my job and helped me do what I do?
Never.
So, ever. So the point is that's how they got you hooked. They would have these shows where they show all these videos in a positive light, like, hey, we saved this person this time. Hey, this happened, or hey, that happened. And they get you with, and so you're like, okay, it's good for me to have a video camera, but I feel sorry for kids growing up now because, me and you, high school, college, we did all kinds of shenanigans that never got caught on tape. Mm-hmm. I broke into vending machines. I tipped one over on a brick and emptied it. Thank God they didn't have, you know what I'm saying? They didn't have cameras. Hell, how many times would you mess with a girl in a park or you in your car? Nowadays, these kids can't do none of that stuff that we used to do.
But you know what? The funny thing is, there's still gray areas to do dirt. And you find this out when you're in a situation where they need to retrieve the camera footage from a parking lot, and you say, oh, well, the cameras can't see that far. Or they'll tell you, oh, we can't use the traffic cameras. Why? The fuck you got them up there for? You can't get any usable footage from the traffic cameras. Then what the fuck are they doing then? What are they for?
I got a homeboy that was in a car accident, and they requested the traffic footage. Oh, yeah, we can't retrieve it. Which is, I've experienced what you're saying in my real life, and I'm like, this is crazy. Most of that shit is there just to intimidate you because they feel like if the camera's there, you won't do shit. You guys don't know that half of them cameras ain't on. Half of them cameras ain't doing half the shit that you think they doing. They ain't filming a damn thing.
Yep. But here's the thing, though. If you couple the increased surveillance and paranoia with the corporatized racketeering of traffic tickets and municipal ordinances, personal freedoms had shrunken to the space between your ears. And so, essentially, they want to keep encroaching that grip until it's around your neck, and they're looking right in your eyes, and they're reading your thoughts. That is where this is headed. That's where the technological footprints are headed, is straight at you. They've already gotten into your home. They put microphones and cameras into your television. And in your television, if you have a smart TV, it says in the manual, go flip through the manual. Probably halfway through the manual, it's going to tell you, don't have any private conversations in front of this television because this information is sold to third parties.
Look, we've all experienced. I mean, you talk about something and the ad pops up on Facebook. That's not even news anymore. The bottom line
it's
is
accepted. It's just accepted,
yeah.
And nobody just says anything about it. Like, hey, this shit is not cool. Facebook, I'm going to take you to court because you're invading my privacy. Nobody says anything, but yet these social media platforms want to be considered utilities, right? They want to be considered public utilities, but yet they don't take any responsibility for their encroachment into the privacy or the sacred spaces in our lives.
Nothing's sacred anymore. Everything is fair game. Used to be you wouldn't talk about somebody's mom, or you wouldn't go there. You know, they say it, don't go there. But now it's just the opposite. Everything is fair game, and you can't put a monetary value on everything, but they have.
And so, okay, one thing that we're leaving out is the fact that we're giving up so much information on ourselves that now our cell phone records are used against us in court, and how your browsing habits can be used against you in court. So again, like who you're dating on these dating apps or these dating services online, all that provides a record. So essentially, like what we're saying is get offline. Stop putting all your shit online. Pay for shit in cash as often as you can, and go up to somebody and meet a person in the real world instead of trying to do that shit online all the time, because you're creating this digital shadow of yourself. And then you're telling all these companies, not even the government, companies that want to gather all this data on you and sell it to other people, how to find you and what you're into and what kind of shit you like and what you do when the lights go out. All this shit. So think about this. You are in your bedroom and you fucking, and they're making a porn of you because you got a camera in your TV. Of course you got a fucking 65-inch TV on the wall across from your bed, watching you, recording you while you sleep, making its own paranormal activity version of the shit that goes on in your house.
and what you do just to have the biggest TV on the block, you surrender your privacy.
It's funny, man. Like I heard these crackheads have this conversation one time, and they were talking about like how to go steal a TV or how to steal a nice TV. It's like, man, you can always tell when it's one of them big ass new TVs because you see the blue light like pouring out the windows, and you can see the blue light, you know, from the TV. Because the old TVs they had that blue light like that, but the new TVs get the blue lights. And I'm like, oh, well, that's useful. Blackout curtains, motherfucker.
How about you remember like your parents would teach you things on how not to get caught up? Like literally, like okay, if you buy some new shit, they would have you break down the boxes so the neighbors wouldn't know you
Correct.
had shit.
Absolutely.
And now it's just the opposite. They sit there and everybody wants to know. Like they're bragging basically when they put their shit out. Or how many people tell about their whereabouts on Facebook? I'm in the Bahamas, nigga. What? You got to get your money up like me, but then come back to an empty house because they got robbed while they were out of town. You told on yourself. You posted everything on Facebook.
Yeah.
You know, nobody has to spy on you. You're spying on yourself. You know, the revolution will not be televised, but thanks to social media, we know who the participants are.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
giving away. Yeah, exactly. Here's the thing. Like, I hate saying certain things. I don't want to give the evil people of the world an idea, but who's to say they haven't figured out what DNA or what gene or whose bloodline makes the best leaders, right? So they went through and they killed Fred Hampton, they killed King, they killed Malcolm. And suppose how you know they didn't do a DNA test and they got the genome, they can tell what genome makes somebody a good leader, what makes somebody charismatic and things like that, right? So how do you know they can't attack that? How do you know they can't dampen that by with dumbass diet? Or how you know they can't mess that up with fucked up vaccines or super pro? How do you know they haven't isolated what makes somebody the next messiah?
So continuing with technology in the nanny state, Apple for the longest time held the line of encryption against hackers and the government getting into your phone until they finally broke down and they allowed the FBI the ability to get into iPhones. And so now they're breaking down even further and they're creating a new system that is going to allow, how would I say, it's a new system that they're creating that is offering less and less privacy. And so now what they're doing is this level of privacy is going to monitor which sites you go to and how long you're at these sites and give this site information away to third parties whenever it's requested.
That's why you see so many of these people getting those VPNs and things like that, where you can control what they see.
Mm-hmm.
Like people are lying on purpose, you know.
But see, what they're saying is they're using it to prevent child exploitation. And while that is admirable, but that sounds like a cop-out because that really is the job of law enforcement. That's not the job of a tech company. So it's law enforcement to go out and catch pedophiles. And tech companies should allow their tech to do what it does. I'm not, by no means am I co-signing on anything that these piece of shit pedophiles do.
Yep.
But what I am saying that when you start to make it easier to get into these phones and you make it, you weaken the encryption, then that phone it becomes less and less private. So this company that was holding the line on privacy just caved in.
And it wasn't even a lot of pressure either.
Right.
It's like, okay, we want to gain favor with this company. And this is the other thing that we talked about also in other podcasts. You know, the government spends a lot of money on these companies and buys stock in them. So what happens when the government is part owner in that company? then do they need a search warrant anymore? Do they have to go to court to look at that data? No,
But see,
they
this
don't.
goes back to 1993 and the Clipper chip. And so this is just this is not a hardware based solution. This is now software based. So they move so far beyond the Clipper chip, they don't need it anymore. When you have the NSA operating these drones that can fly over cities and vacuum up information. You know,
We call them
data scrubbers, where your
yeah.
phone would just cut off and then it would turn back on. It's because it was being scrubbed for data, and you couldn't figure out why your phone was being remotely operated. Just like you see remote desktop, you call into some IT support desk and you give them your login, and they log on, turn your computer off, and turn it back on again.
Look,
Same thing with your phone.
Conversation you weren't supposed to have. We talk about Russia, we talk about China, we talk about these other places, but when it comes to data, when it comes to technology, we're surrendering our rights the same way those people didn't have rights. And then when you decide to speak up about it, you're a nut. Oh man, he's a conspiracy theorist. No, you're a conscientious objector, and you're recognizing that you're being done wrong. You're speaking up.
Right. Yep. Pretty much. But I mean, so there's other things we need to speak on. I mean, such as we're in the era of propaganda, and propaganda was legalized under the NDAA, or National Defense Authorization Act, and it allowed for the use of propaganda in media and news organizations. And in that same bill, the passage of that same bill, it allowed for indefinite detention of American citizens. Now think about that for a second. So you have propaganda in the news and indefinite detention of American citizens in the same bill. Who is writing this shit?
What are they afraid of? What is the average citizen doing? And here's the other part that drives me crazy. Half the time, these so-called terrorists, the FBI, CIA, NSA were already on to them for years. But those guys who supposedly did 9/11, they were all on the no-fly list. So what's not happening?
What the fucked up part is that those people were Saudi nationals, and nothing was done to Saudi Arabia after that. That after they found out these motherfuckers from Saudi Arabia, not Afghanistan, not Iraq, but Saudi Arabia. There was no invasion of Saudi Arabia. And so the funny part is Spike Lee puts out this documentary on HBO last week about September 11th. It's 20 years later. And 30 minutes of the documentary was cut out. And it was the part that talked about where he interviewed the, I think it was engineers and scientists for truth about 9/11, and where they broke down like all the technical data about how the planes hit the building and the temperature of jet fuel when it burns, and all this information that's related to like how the actual attack happened.
Yeah,
this was cut from the documentary, and this is Spike Lee, somebody who's supposed to be this firebrand revolutionary black motherfucker, but he fucking caved in. See what I'm saying? So again, these people that we think are these revolutionaries bow down to the nanny state.
Look, when we say nanny state, what we're saying is that government now has...
Government and corporations together, that's fascism.
Yes. Government and corporations together have infiltrated the American people so bad, and the American psyche so much, to where we think bad things are good, and we think good things are bad. It's just that simple. We're being rewarded for negative behavior. When I was a kid in grade school, you got in trouble for tattletelling. Like you would spot a kid doing something wrong, a teacher, such and such did this. Don't be a tattletale. We were told this. Now you turn somebody in, they give you a sticker. I'm like, whoa. All the things that we learned as children to be true are no longer true. And now this generation coming up with this, they are so beholden to the government, to people who are in authority. They sit here and they want what you were talking about earlier. They want justification. I can't go outside unless the expert tells me. I can't do this unless I saw it on TV. Guess what? TikTok challenge, and they're doing stupid shit. Right now, it's the milk crate.
The crate challenge. That's stupid ass shit, man.
Where the hell are they getting these milk crates from? All right, so you tell me you're going to the store and buying 30 of these milk crates just to injure yourself? You're paying money to be stupid. And then since you're being, how about this? The people that I saw this fat guy fall, bust his ass. Do you think he made any money on that? Do you think Facebook paid that nigga? So you're doing it for celebrity. We've joked in the past that back in the day when you sold your soul to the devil, you did it for fame and fortune. You got money, and then you got famous. Now people are just famous, selling their souls just to be famous. The devil ain't got to spend no money no more. You ain't got to. He's getting your soul at a minimum. Man, can you imagine if me and you acted a fool and your father saw that? Can you imagine?
Dude.
Lord have mercy.
So I got this. Somebody sent something to me on Instagram, and it was a story about a woman who did a Zoom meeting with a judge, a Zoom hearing with a judge, and the judge asked the mother, this is for the custody of a child, and the judge asked the mother if she had been vaccinated. She said no, and the judge therefore revoked custody of the child because the mother was not vaccinated. So that brings us into the age of spike proteins and pseudoscience vaccines and the open contract nature of forced transhumanism. Evolution, pharmaceutical cocktails, and it cements humanity into a brave new world. So, if you do not concede, then you will not succeed, and you will not coexist peacefully with friends and family. So says governing bodies, be they local or federal. So a judge, again, I'll say, a judge revoked custody from a parent because they didn't have the vaccine. So I look back and I'm seeing how hard they are pressing this vaccine bullshit. And it's like an overbearing parent to say, hey, you need to go ahead and you need to put some tissue in your pocket so you can blow your nose. Or you need to make sure you cross the street or wear your bicycle helmet, all this bullshit. And it's a nanny state that's telling you, you got to have your vaccine, you got to have your vaccine. Everybody is pressing this shit so fucking hard for this thing that does not work. You need a vaccine passport. You need a vaccine passport to travel. Well, what's the point of a vaccine passport if you can give it to other people? If you can still spread it? It's fucking pointless. But yet, the nanny state deems it absolutely necessary.
Look, just because you call something a vaccine, just because you call me Michael Jordan, don't mean I can play basketball. Just because you call it a vaccine doesn't mean it works the way they say it does.
Hey, man, how about this? If denim jeans cannot stop a fart, then what makes you think a fucking mask can stop coronavirus?
Look, how about the fact that we've talked about in the past? People in China were wearing masks the whole time. They've been wearing masks since '83, since Michael Jackson was going on.
For the longest time. Yes, you would always see that shit in Japan.
Masks do not stop the spread, but it's cool. Here's the deal. The point we're trying to make is that since the nanny state is pushing this, the nanny state is probably the ones who created it. So now you are paying the same thing you did with these dumbass crates. You're paying to look stupid. I'm buying crates so I can be on TV. I'm buying crates so I can be on the internet.
You know what's crazy, man? You know what's crazy? Is that so now everybody's getting the vaccine, but they still want you to wear a mask, but you don't have to social distance. What? I don't get it. So you're telling me that none of this shit worked to begin with? Right. On many occasions I had to tell people to back the fuck up.
Look, it's about capitalism. This is capitalism. So I'm paying. So who's paying for these vaccines they're giving away free? You can't get insulin free. You can't get anything. Anything they're giving you free is any drug that gives you your first couple doses free, so you come back. They're trying to get you to come back. They're trying to get you to pay for the next. They got your insurance paying for this. They trust me. Either the vaccine ain't free, or the sickness you get and you got to go to get the cure from them. That's what you become a long-term customer. That's all this is about.
But let's talk about ideology for a second and how it relates to the nanny state. So they want to be overbearing and control over you, but they also want you to snitch on your friends and family. So they want control over everything. And it's like I said in a most recent show, is that they don't want to learn you from the outside in. They want to learn you from the inside out. So they want to get down into the cellular structure of your being. And they want to know that all the cells in your body have been marked, have the mark, so that you can conduct trade and travel because you have the mark, because it is in your genes, and you can pass that to your offspring. They've even said that with this vaccine, this graphene that's in it, that is in this special ingredient that's in the Moderna, can be passed and found in women's ovaries. So that means that women pass this to their offspring. Go ahead, man. What are you saying?
Look, earlier when I was saying that they literally can tell by your DNA if you're a leader, if you have charisma, if you're energetic, if you have these. So on the flip side, right now the only people breeding are the weak ones. The only ones being given the ability to breed are the ones that are passive. So wouldn't it be realization that they will fuck around and only having the weak breeders breed with each other because you're passive. You'll fall for anything. You won't speak up. So they know who's a pussy. They know who has the house Negro genes in them, and right now they're being cultivated. Or even when we talk about balance in hip hop, me and you were having a private conversation. If they're giving a contract to every, what you say, little this, little that, they're only giving the contracts to them. So the people with real messages, the KRS ones,
will never be heard.
Won't be heard.
They're in the underground.
You know, before when we grew up, you heard "Fight the Power" on the radio. Hell, you heard it on a pop station. Now, the only way you might hear Jay-Z, you might hear that Ballad of OJ, something like that. That's not really saying anything, but saying what you already know. See, that's what I call low-hanging fruit. You're talking about racism, but you're not talking about fixing it. You're not talking about fighting it. You're not talking about taking up arms. You're not talking about the Black Panther Party like Paris and things like that.
No,
you're talking about,
that's the Jesse Jackson of MCing. That's what that is.
Bingo. What you're doing is you're pointing out the obvious.
Not the obvious, and you still claiming to be a victim.
And they'll give you an award for that. You'll get a couple Grammys off that. That's the best album, the best hip hop album of the year. And
is it though? Is it though?
No, because the best hip hop album of the year ain't nobody of any.
Ain't
They're not
nobody
gonna.
heard. Ain't nobody heard it.
Mm-mm. No, if they're only giving contracts for niggas talk about drugs and hoes, which hey, I do enjoy that music. I'm not gonna be a hypocrite. But what I'm saying is that I grew up.
I don't enjoy it. I get tired of it. I'm tired of
Yeah,
it. I like real
like
MCing. I don't like it. I don't like the bullshit. So I'll say that.
look. The thing is that they reward what the behavior that they want. They spend their money freely. And if you don't think these people are connected, if you don't think this is on purpose, if you don't think that they're quelling any kind of intelligence, it's because if they had intelligent people, they would rise up, they would fight back, they would kill. You know, this sounds bad. But when's the last time we had a political killing? There's plenty of
Oh
political
shit,
killings.
man! You talking about all the fucking assassinations of the '60s? The motherfuckers just getting plugged in broad
Yeah,
daylight.
yeah.
Where presidents were getting fucking killed. Were
They have no
fucking
problem shooting. They would shoot a politician in a second.
in a
Now,
heartbeat. Now they
like I
do
said,
it on foreign soil.
yeah, yeah, oh yeah, we kill people, but ain't nobody
No, now they just humiliate motherfuckers and, find their
cancel
Pornhub
them.
account and all this
Exactly.
bullshit. And they find out that they were on the Lolita Express and they used their scapegoat, who was Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. But there's 100 people just like them.
Don't get me wrong. We're not defending Epstein, but you know as well as I do. You have presidents and heads of state using his damn plane, the Lolita Express, and all that bullshit. Now you mean to tell me the president, who has the biggest air force in the world, needs to use that plane? What the fuck was he doing on that plane? Now, the stewardess said, "Oh, he never said." We're talking about Bill Clinton right now. Oh, he never said nothing to us. He was a perfect gentleman. So you mean to tell me you use his plane instead of Air Force One? What?
Listen, he was a perfect gentleman because he was into little boys. He wasn't after that pussy.
Look, here's the deal. What we're saying is there was no reason for this man to be on that plane ever. There's no. He got planes galore. He had access to every plane technology. He got access to the Concorde, shit that moves faster than the speed of sound. And you want to take some little 747 that belongs to some businessman? Nah. What we're saying is that when somebody drinks the Kool-Aid, it should taste bad. You should recognize, like, oh, this ain't right. There ain't enough sugar in this. But instead, it's bad, but you'll lie on their behalf because you want what they have to offer. You want to be famous. You care more about fame than anything else, and that's how they're getting you. You want the likes, or we've covered this shit. The biggest thing with this nanny state thing is that there's somebody pulling the strings behind everybody, and if you don't agree or if you don't do what they want, they'll find something on you. They'll embarrass you. They won't give you access to medicine. They won't give you access to gas. They won't give you enough money. They won't, and so. You're forced to fend for yourself. You're forced to be independent. All you hear about is these doomsday preppers. Like, look, if you want to fuck the state, buy you some land, live by yourself, raise your own foods, and believe in God. Well, not fuck believe. I hate the word believe. Get closer to God.
No God.
Know God. And when you do that, you can recognize the bull feathers when you see it.
Dude,
and don't get me wrong.
hey man, let me say some shit real quick. It's a trip to hear motherfuckers talk about God in public now. Ain't it? Because everybody wants to fucking respect motherfuckers' point of view spiritually and all that shit. Hey man, if you don't know God, then that's on you. But that's not going to stop me from talking about God. Every now and then, when a person, it's a trip to me to hear a person say, God bless you. You know what I'm saying? It's a trip to me to hear a person talk about God, to say the word God. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, man, I know a lot of conscious people. That want to be hip, slick, and cool, and they want to use all these different terms and talk around the creator and this and that. But when them same motherfuckers,
the universe,
when they start dealing with darkness and they need some help, they're going to yell out Yahshua. They're going to call for him. You know what I'm saying? And all that cosplay and all that bullshit and you know, all these different names you're going to call them by, you're going to call them because there is a spiritual pecking order.
Look, you said this shit years ago. You said that ain't nothing but fake cosplayers. They're just dressing up. They're this. Remember your dad said, we heard it, ain't no atheists in foxholes. When somebody's going to war and the shit gets bad, everybody believes in God. Everybody knows God. Everybody calls his name or her name or whatever.
Yeah, look, man, listen. All it takes is for you to be broken the fuck down to your elements, to be knocked down into the dirt to your knees spiritually. And then you will see. That's all it takes, man. All it takes is for you to be just knocked off of your intellectual high horse. I'm talking about clothesline, like just fucking WWF 84 style. This closed fucking line in your fucking larynx, nigga. Like knocked off that goddamn high horse of intellectualism. You're like, oh, well, I'm back here at the base elements.
All right, who was the motherfucker in the wheelchair? So,
you talking about Stephen Hawkins?
Yeah. Motherfuckers, you know, they had the movie about him. Everybody's all in the movie. And all of a sudden, he's like, God doesn't exist. And women, look, when you stop getting pussy, you stop believing in God. See, that motherfucker didn't get no pussy, so all of a sudden, God wasn't around him no more. That's because, look.
Apparently, he was still getting hoes in that fucking wheelchair, man.
He was buying hoes.
Yeah, he's paying for it.
It's different when somebody submits to you because they want you to have it.
No, man. This is what I'm gonna say. What takes people to recognize God is a fucking judo toss. Is a motherfucking situational judo toss that fucking just slams you on your fucking ear. It takes humility. Humility is what brings you face to face with the Creator.
When you look at all these great people, these champions, Ali, when you look at these great people, and they all know God in different ways, and then you got somebody like Joe Rogan, who I like, but Joe, like you know, he doesn't believe. And I
it's because he likes to play that devil's advocate bullshit. I get tired of it. I do. I like just stop with the fucking games, man.
Yeah, I get it, but my point being is that all these other guys are champions. What's the difference? Whenever you hear these stories of these great warriors, male, female, and they knew what they were doing. They knew, like, this is it. Whenever people talk about, like, gun control, like, the government has more guns, it doesn't matter. Well, what about Vietnam?
Mm-hmm.
What about this little 4-foot guys with AK-47?
In pajamas.
What about the Taliban when they were on our side, taking out Hind helicopters, taking out the biggest helicopter Russia makes with a rocket launcher? You can't. When your battle is different, when this is true, you can do anything. But that's where we are right now, where everybody thinks the government is bigger than them. And the nanny state is what breeds it. The nanny state is indoctrinating people at 5 and 6 years old, and so now you believe that you can never question the government. You can't question God. The government became God. You can't question them. And so now you don't have the ability to rise up anymore because, hey, I want my free cable. I want my MTV. I want my...
Because you worship at the wrong altar.
That's it. And the government has become God to these people. Just like you talk about science, okay, it doesn't make sense. Are you going to argue with a scientist? Yes. Are you going to? Yeah. You can argue.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I don't give away my power, and neither do I give away my spiritual power. See, the reason why this conversation has come around to spirituality is because a nanny state only works for people who don't speak to the spirit man, to their inner spirit, who don't speak to the ancestors, to people who don't utilize the quiet time of meditation You see, the nanny state works for those types of people. Still your mind. Meditate. Meditation is listening to God. Prayer is talking to God. Yeah, it's cool to pray, but you need to meditate too and still your mind and know that stillness to wash all the muck out of you.
You're listening to. You got to listen back though. All these people, they want a response. You got to be still so you can hear the response. That's what this is about. Look, what we're trying to tell you is that whenever every great ruler, these great men and these great women that took on these incredible odds and won, is because they knew God. They knew what they were doing. They knew that they were just. And they weren't afraid of the outcome. They weren't afraid of dying. They weren't afraid of killing, though, either. But people are afraid of going to jail. But how about this? We always say this is the same example. How come brothers have no problem killing other brothers, but don't want to kill the cop or kill the politician that caused the shit?
Because they are taught to think that their lives and the lives of others in their tribe are worth nothing. Because they've given away all their power and they do not speak or listen to the Creator.
That's what the meditation is for. That's for the stillness, because sometimes you get the answer, and it's not the answer you want. The answer is this: abandon technology. Use it as entertainment, but it should not be a lifestyle. It should not be the altar you worship at. Technology should not control every aspect of your life. And when you let technology control your life, you're letting another man or another woman control you.
Look, hit the power switch. Turn off your Wi-Fi router that is listening and recording everything as well as your television. Turn that off when you're sleeping because you're not using it at that time. Control that reflex that has you looking at your phone every 60 seconds. Control that reflex. Calm the fuck down and still your mind. Sit in stillness once a day. And all of the noise around you, that 60 cycle hum, all of the transmissions, all the 5G towers, all the stuff around you that transmitting and snitching on you and recording you disappears because it doesn't exist, because you have connected with all of creation and the Creator. So still your mind and be free of the nanny state. We out. Peace.
Holla back.